Hi, ladies and gentlemen. So I'm happy to be part of this panel, and thank you for coming here. Please welcome our dear panelists and experts. Today we're going to discuss the topic of blockchain, and we're going to cover the latest trends, the latest advancements, even the ECG agenda. We're going to discuss the trends that are happening in the blockchain sphere. So the year 2023 is announced as the year of sustainability in the UAE. So I would like to first address my question to Aaron. Please tell us what are the latest advancements in the green blockchain are there on the market today, and how do you see are they shaping the ecosystem of blockchain in general?
Hi everyone. As introduction just now, I'm leading the ICP.Hub in Singapore, which is funded by the Infinity Foundation based in Switzerland, who is also the creator and the maintainer of the Internet Computer Protocol. So the Internet Computer Protocol is based on a technology called proof of useful work. So essentially what we do is we follow the principle of Bitcoin, which is proof of work, except we direct that work towards something that is useful. In essence, that's what it is. So our protocol comprises of standard servers placed in data centers worldwide, and we have something called deterministic decentralization, where we make sure that each and every subnet is comprised of servers in different geographies. And together with all the subnets that's out there, some of which can be customized for AI, for example, we come up with something called the Internet Computer Network, which is very much like the internet and local area networks. Now, so our architecture enables us to have efficiency that is unseen before, and probably is the best in the space. So a single transaction on the internet computer takes up less energy than one Google search. And not only that, if you want to compare with some of the blockchains out there, for example, Cardano, which is considered quite efficient, but we're 8,600 times more efficient. So these are what we have, which I can give as an example.
Okay, that's nice. Do you have anything to add, gentlemen? Yeah. In terms of green blockchain? No. Okay, let's move further then. So Dmytro, my question is to you. You guys are developing an infrastructure for governing and creating DAOs. So my question is, how do you see cross-chain DeFi platforms evolving at the moment?
Okay, thank you for the question. Oh, hello everyone. Glad to be here. As my colleague already told some intro about himself, so let me also tell something. So yeah, we are building infrastructure for the DAOs because we are true believer DAO builders for 3 more years. Now we are very excited to release our product. Yeah, it's enough, I guess. So according to your question, I think that the main point, if we are really speaking about the mass adoption, about the end users, I think that for them it doesn't matter which cross-chain platform they will use on the back end. So from my perspective, I think that it must, all the cross-chain platforms must abstract of it and to provide the transparent, useful, simple interface for the users. And it should be not at least cross-chain platforms. It should be all chain platforms where the users can use it in all the cross-chains where it makes sense. So it's about the UX, firstly. And the future platforms, one of the biggest maybe points, I think it's to provide, as I told, the interface and the feelings for them that he's using his platform, that my DeFi platform is really mine. It's not the platform which using me. So this is one of the key, I think. Thank you.
Let me just add something on the trend part here, but just a quick introduction of myself. I've been in the space since 2013. I run an Accelerator, Key Difference, and associated fund, Key Difference Capital. Pretty excited to be here. And talking about the trends, it's also important to understand the direction the space has been taking. In the early days, early years, if you look at before 2016, it was all about the foundation of the technology building up. And the first cycle that was happening around that, the ICO era, people were trying to come up with the exchanges and the layer one chains and so on. Although you still do have layer one chains coming every 3 hours, a new chain, what's really happening is now we are moving from the foundational infrastructure. We already have that. Right now, you can run a lot of transactions. You can move from one chain to another. You have the basics in there. So we're moving to a point in time when real businesses are noticing the value of what blockchain has to offer. They know that it can help them with the decentralization or transparency or whatever challenge it is that their business sees as an advantage to work from. But the challenge that they're facing right now and the opportunity or the trend is applications that bridge that gap. Is there a particular entity that can help this business get to the world of blockchain quickly, like a blockchain as a service? Just like you saw the previous trend in the Web 2 era, the software as a service, SaaS businesses took a major lead because it made it easy, it made it simple for someone to get and use these various technologies. So I see a great opportunity with anything that enables businesses do that. And I think even ICP, you guys have a great infrastructure for things around that. And if you even notice, you mentioned about DAO. If you ask a startup to go create a DAO, they are like, what is it? How do I do that? They need tools that enable them to do it and places through which they can access and work from in an easy fashion. So that is a major trend. And the other aspect is businesses that are moving and utilizing the blockchain infrastructure. And if there can be something that is done to help them, I think there's a great impact and profitability for businesses as well in the journey.
Thank you for this. So I would like to ask Aniket, what about the latest trends? And perhaps you can elaborate more on the latest trends in layer 2 blockchains and how they are improving the efficiency and scalability of the blockchain ecosystem in general.
All right. Hi guys, this is Aniket Patil. I'm right now the advisor for a blockchain. So like, before I start with the question, as Mr. Key mentioned about the applications and all things, finding out the core reason or the core problems in the industry and making up a solution for the people is the only thing what I'm working as of now. And thankfully, we are a part of few government projects as of now. And we are specifically only working out with the problems. Now coming down to the question about the layer 2, basically everything is connected in a disconnected way. So joining the dots is what we are finding out here. Layer 2 solutions, what right now is happening with layer 2 is everybody is trying to scale up. Everybody is trying to give solutions to some extent where the main chains are falling to, let's say for the transaction fees or multiple things. And as per my knowledge, I find whenever there is a peak time for any particular chain or any particular working mechanism, during its peak time, it fails to deliver the right amount of, the right thing at the right time. And that's where I find a major loophole. And that's where side chains are coming up with many things. I have been a part of many side chains till date. And it was my experience, what I have seen from the side chains is everybody has still a decade to develop. And this is the real thing. Everybody will come up with a new idea, they'll fail, they'll come up again, and this has to happen for another decade is what I feel. I started my crypto journey long time back when what everybody here, everybody knows about crypto, but then I was not aware about the blockchain. And now when we come down here, understanding the understanding the need of the blockchain, now we are figuring out what chains we can build, side chains. We can, zero knowledge is also something which is coming up in a very better way and solving institutional problems individually. Like, I'm not here to, I feel a blockchain as a whole thing is good enough, but providing blockchain as a solution, as an independent identity would bring out better options in the industry is what I feel. And that's how I guess so layer 2 solutions would be still gaining a much, still need a much time to develop in itself. And probably we'll see many of those coming up in the near time.
I think one of the points that you mentioned with the time it takes is pretty true, because I spent some time with the founders of Arbitrum, Tezos, and many more. They all started out in 2014 times, right? It did not happen in the last bull cycle or the cycle before. It happened much, much earlier. They spent a lot of time iterating, developing, figuring things out, fixing things, and sometimes they just had to take their mind off it to figure the best way to approach the problem, because we do have a trilemma in the blockchain space. You do not need to compromise on one to gain the other, but unless you do that, there is an reliability issues, like you're saying. It fails at the time when it is most needed, when the most dependency is required. If it fails, it's going to make it much worse. But along with the time needs, I think there's also an expectation balance that I believe is required. We all talk about wanting to scale to a gazillion transactions per second TPS. It's been overemphasized, but in reality, you don't need that unless until it is, and if it's Visa is using it, probably they need a lot of transactions. For most businesses, you don't need that. So if the blockchain is created for the people, it's created for our businesses, we are happy with the existing infrastructure, existing systems. 95% of the things in the world can happen with what exists right now. Why do we hang around thinking about that one or two enterprise or high power functions, and we kind of complain that the whole blockchain doesn't work? I think it is a balance between our expectations and what we need in the market, which can save a lot of money and effort that's going towards layer 2 roll-ups and all this new technologies. The infrastructure is great, but infrastructure in a dead house is not important. You need real value in businesses moving on chain to enable this as well.
Thank you. Well, talking about the implementing blockchain into the real business, well, I have the statistics that blockchain Internet of Things, for example, market, is expected to grow from $0.57 billion in 2023 to $3.44 billion by 2028. So, Aaron, could you tell us more about the latest trends that happening here, and what is your expectations?
Yeah, thanks for the question. It's a good question, because one of the most exciting things that's coming up is something called DPIN, right? DE for decentralized, and PIN for physical infrastructure network. In fact, I've seen a few quite good examples of these kind of projects. So there's a particular one on Solana, and this project is basically replicating Google Map. So they sell this device that every driver can, it's like a dash cam. Everyone can install in the car, and they reward you based on the mileage that you cover, the roads you cover. There's obviously high value places like cities like Dubai or New York City or London, but there's also less covered areas like somewhere in the middle of Australia, for example. And they've been able to compile so much data in a decentralized way that it can rival Google Maps, right? And if you look at Internet Computer, what we are is actually we're a decentralized cloud. So what that means for me is it's really cool, because there's no other decentralized cloud that's fully on chain, which also means that we're actually complementary to a lot of blockchain projects that's out there. But what we are is actually we're actually a cloud infrastructure. So, for example, if you're a small country, okay, maybe an island country, and you don't have the funds, you may not have the right geography, right, and you just doesn't make sense, or maybe your country is too small. It just doesn't make sense for you to have your own data center. So what's the solution? So we have a project, I think it'll be announced in the next couple of months. This infrastructure allows you to create your own sovereign cloud. So smaller countries or corporations, they're able to have this totally sovereign cloud that is, secure, that doesn't have a backdoor, like AWS or Google, and doesn't have a kill switch, And if you look at, industries like new space, for example. A lot of people are talking about, what SpaceX is doing. Essentially, what they're doing is part of new space where they're deploying constellations, right, like Starlink, but Starlink, in effect, is a US network, right? And clearly that does not work for all the countries in the world. And inside the new space, in the low Earth orbit, there's something like space for hundreds of constellations. So this is really the new trend, isn't it? So how would you facilitate communication, with a network of satellites, somewhere up in the sky in the low Earth orbit, in the most efficient way possible? And I believe blockchain is part of that solution. So that's what I have to say about IoT. I think it's very natural for the IoT trend to merge with the blockchain trend.
Thank you for this. Anything to add, gentlemen? No? Internet of Things. Okay, good. Then I would like to discuss another topic that I think is crucially important in terms of development of blockchain, is research and development. So my question goes to Aniket. Could you tell us what are the critical areas of research and development you see now, and what is the role of community in this?
I guess I have to say it again. Research and development is an ongoing process, and it requires consistency. Whatever is happening already is already consistent, and what we have got right now in terms of blockchain technology developments are going well worth with every industry in the every industry, considering all the sectors. But even though if we talk about what more advancements do we need in the current technology, would be scaling is the most important. How we can scale on a better way in terms of, let's say, finance, how things can work better with each other, helping hands with each and other chains would be important. Things more important would be interoperable. Everybody comes and says about interoperable, but then at the time of the final match, I guess, so it's not what we say it is. So working on interoperable is also one of the most important things, what I would say. And second is bringing all the platforms towards one particular stage would be most important, so that right now what we are trying to build is the base. Still, I would say this is the base foundation for all the technological updates. And having all at one stage would bring up more on the table. There are multiple people trying to develop the same things. We could use the same talent to develop more or other untouched products in the market is what is right now lagging, I guess so. That's all I can say right now. Maybe
Dmytro?
he can add some points.
Dmytro, I would like to address the same question to you. What are you thinking?
Okay, about the crucial topic, the trends of the blockchains for the upcoming future, right?
Yeah, critical area of research and development in blockchain.
Okay, I just heard your opinion. Yes, let me add something. So, I think that there are some, let me check, the points of to learn. Yes, of course, the blockchain. There is the Vitalik's dilemma of scalability when he said, it's very hard to optimize scalability, decentralization, and safety, sorry, yes. So this is very important also. And when we are speaking about the what next, and of course, people and startups trying to do a lot of things on the market. We see the blockchains, how it's scaling, how it's growing. I don't like to involve it more deeply because I see that they must fight, we must see and use the most important, most useful, and that is also cool because there are two types of founders on the market. One of them are building the G1 projects from scratch. It's a long way with a lot of mistakes, and just few of them will be succeed. And there are other ones, which is also not very bad when they are getting good technology and make it much better. We see the use case with the base, for example, with the BNB chain, with their OP stacks and so on. And my opinion always about the community, because we are building DAOs. We are trying to make synergies between different types of the projects, infrastructures, and so on. So I like to change the focus, not to change, but maybe to move or imagine if it will move from the pure tech to the community, to the people side, because it's also very important. All the blockchains forming from the users, from the communities which are forming these blocks and participating, sending transactions, swapping, and so on. And the infrastructure products, projects, and applications will be performing, I guess, and we need to keep an eye on the DAOs, of course. I don't want to shield it, yeah, but I'm believing and pushing on this. Thank you.
Beautiful. Okay. Well, my suggestion is to talk about investments now. And I would like to ask Mr. Key, you are as a chairman of a Web3 incubator. What factors do you pay attention to while investing into blockchain project, contributing to web blockchain project, and what trends are you very bullish on?
Okay, so when we talk about the blockchain projects, I would not really just say as a blockchain. If you need to first look at the common criteria as a founder-first approach. A biggest challenge in the blockchain space has been over the years, most of the investments have been going by the trend and the hype, but the founders themselves did not have the sufficient business knowledge or experience in that particular sector where they were building the business on. So I would first look at the founder, whether they have the skill, knowledge, experience to be able to deliver their business on that particular sector. Blockchain is a technology, which to me comes secondary, because when someone is building in the world of blockchain, they're not coming because just of the technology and the benefit, they're coming because of the philosophy of what blockchain offers. It is a philosophy of decentralization. It's a philosophy that they're trying to utilize in their businesses to make it different from their competitors in the Web2 space. So building with the philosophy and technology being on one part, it's about how much they understand and how and what their vision is towards building that. Otherwise, it's no different from using an MySQL database and building another centralized product somewhere else. Why would they have to use a blockchain, go through this expensive troubles and challenges unless they fancy doing that as an experiment? It doesn't serve a purpose. So looking at it from a founder is 80% of the game, and everything else, 20% is their business and the chain and the technology, because most likely they're not, before they go live with the product, they would change it 3 times. 3 pivots are very common. So if they're changing it 3 times and then before a Series A they change it twice, you did not invest in the project, you invested in something else. So the founders remain, the project doesn't, it changes quite a lot. So that's the focus I would look at. And when it comes to the trends and technology, I would re-emphasize on blockchain as a service and real-world businesses, not only real-world assets, but real-world businesses bringing something on-chain. When I say something on-chain, I don't mean a big brand dropping an absolutely useless, not a monkey picture, something else as a picture. That doesn't serve anyone else. What really serves is they moving a part of their business, moving a particular function of their business on chain because it is really needed for them. If there is no need, if the need is not validated, if no other solution in the market is able to solve it, and then they move to the blockchain, it makes sense. It's a true win for the blockchain, it's a true value, and they would fight to make it work. But if it's just a fancy thing that they do, it is not a great idea. We have seen a lot of companies change their names or play with it just for the stock market prices. It's no different than the pumps and dumps in the crypto space. So I would refocus by removing the clutter, whether it's a trend or a startup, from an investment angle or even utility angle, to remove all that clutter to see why, what is the purpose for them doing what they're doing. Is there any way they can accomplish this without the power of blockchain? Can they do it in some other traditional means? If none of those things work, and then that is a validation for me. And one of the validation that we use in our acceleration process is I mean, it's a bit controversial one. I call it a Bitcoin zero test. We don't want Bitcoin to go to zero, and we don't believe that's likely to happen as well. But if there is no Bitcoin and speculation, does this business have an inherent value? Would you pay your money to buy something from this business, a product, service, or a token, even if the speculation is not a part of the equation. If that isn't yes, that makes sense. But if you're going to say even a half S, if speculation is part of the game, I believe that it is the business foundation or the fundamentals are weaker and it needs to be given further thought. So business first, the founders before that, and finally comes all the other bells and whistles, including the token itself. So that's the long answer of how I see it.
Okay, I hope less people will lose money now in this audience when investing in blockchain projects. And anyone else investing in blockchain projects and want to make some advice? Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I can add something. So yeah, maybe it would be a question maybe to you, man, because yeah, I can add almost the same thing that you already mentioned. So it's not necessary to count about the founder's background. Probably maybe I can add that tokenomics of the project is also very important, but we are speaking more generally. So what do you think about the trends? So we had the trend with the NFT, the trend with the DeFi boom, if you remember. You are also very old in crypto, I know, me too, bro. So how do you recognize when the trend is coming, and what is the specific things of maybe founders which do during this trend to get to your accelerator, for example? It's just from my also investment perspective, just want to hear your thoughts.
So if you look at NFT and DeFi, they provide an amazing platform for what could unfold in the world. But if you look at most of the businesses and applications, they're touching the surface of it. There are two parts. One, they play on the surface, like using the NFT or another swap or another whatever it is. Or they're trying on the baseline infrastructure, trying to create an algorithm that is better or a new NFT standards or etc. So they are playing on the top layer and the bottom layer, which is great. If they win on the infrastructure layer, they can become the next unicorn. But then 1 out of 500 would win on the infrastructure layer. But if you look at the top layer, it's like a high risk because you're basically putting up a new game or you're putting up a new collection, and it's like a brand that's producing clothes. They would produce hundreds of different collections over a year because many collections will also fail. So there is two layers that you play with, but the meat, 80% of the layer is a business layer, which is ignored. So the moment we talk about even DeFi, can we imagine the amount of TVL that we are playing with is nothing? It's absolutely not even a scratch on the surface compared to the TVL that can come in the future. As the real world assets are moving on chain, bonds, I think it was recently even approved for the securities and bonds to move on chain. Regulations are supporting that. When all of these things are happening, think about a business that does some very simple thing, a very small tokenization, a very small element. It is not an innovation. It is an application. There's a huge difference. We are having a lot of innovation. We are tired of innovation. What we need is an application. We don't need, I mean, you mentioned as a DAO community, a small correction I would say, you don't need community, you need customers. Customers who become a community, not community who become a customers. And that's the challenge in the blockchain space. If every application exists and businesses have customers who then become part of the community to be in the DAO because they have a vested interest in what they have there, it works. DAO is amazing. But right now you have airdroppers. Airdroppers are in the community and they have no idea what your business is and they want to be a customer and they don't even understand how. And that's a big challenge. So that is what I look at: application, business, and real inherent value.
Okay, thank you.
I'd like to add to that. I totally agree with Key. In fact, what we have seen, right, is an evolution, right? So if you remember in the early days, after Ethereum, we have infrastructure, right? What, 1-2 years, 2-3 years infrastructure. Then you start building out the middleware, right? And then you start building the application. So we saw that in the single chain phase. And once we move into multi-chain, again, you see the same thing happening, right? You see infrastructure, you see middleware being built, again, applications, but, this time, multi-chain applications, right? But what's been happening, like the past years, has been, there's way too much focus on the technical aspect, the, incremental improvements, right? And there's not enough real entrepreneurs, right? So that's what's missing here. There's not enough real-world business that's using the technology in the right way to add value to the business. And within the blockchain space, you have a bunch of devs who, try to be entrepreneurs. And you're seeing the consequence of all that, the mismanagement of treasury, mismanagement of team, they couldn't handle it, right? Because it's the first time doing this, right? So on that note, I'll say don't discriminate against this group of people because with the experience, I believe they will improve. But exactly that, I wanted to emphasize that's actually a really important point. So what we're doing in Singapore is our strategy is really Web 2 and Web 3 entrepreneurs, right? So why do I see Web 2? Because you see, there's only so much you can do if you focus on, people in this room or, people within the wider Web 3. We're not going to grow this space. The only way to grow is we have to, make our value prop clear. We have to make it less confusing. We need more collaboration, not more competition, right? And we bring more people in. And the simple strategy that I have in Singapore is I market internet computer as a decentralized cloud. Why do I want to say that? Yeah, I know it's so much more capable, it's fully on-chain, it has CK/BTC, blah, 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 blah. I'm not getting into that trap. I've been talking about technology for, let's see, 7 years. Okay, starting from Zcoin, zero knowledge proof, trying to explain to people, taking 20 minutes of everyone's time, and recently cross-chain bridges. How great is IBC and shared security in the cosmos, right? It's all very exciting to us, but how much impact does it have in the real world? Not much, unfortunately, not much. So what I'm telling people when I talk to them is simply, hey, look, you can take one step into this wonderful world of Web3, and it's a very simple thing to do. All you need to do is deploy your website. To those in the Web3 space, we say that, look, no matter what we build right now, we have a lot of points of centralization within our stack, okay? Why don't we try to achieve full stack decentralization? So it's as simple as, POS chain, deploying the validator instead of AWS or Google, which is a terrible idea, by the way. If you guys have heard of the Mixin wallet hack in Hong Kong, $200 million were gone just because their Google Cloud is compromised. Now, no one wants that. No one wants that. Not only that, I'll tell you the interesting thing. We had an event with, to launch the ICP.Hub Alliance, and there was a guest from Cyberport Hong Kong. As you know, it's semi-government, and what this person said actually surprised me. He said, look, we have the mixing thing. Yes, we understand that. Yeah, probably regulation is going to be really strict now because we're taking into account this, terrible event where so many people lost money. But the other thing he said is, you have this problem because you do not have enough decentralization. Now that surprised me. Why would a regulator say that you're not decentralized enough? Well, he's right, because when you decentralize services, when you decentralize your whole stack, you in fact have less security risks, because everything is transparent, everything is secured online. If someone can hack it, it would have probably been hacked because of the honeypot, right? So that's the best thing about it, right? So just to sum up my perspective of what's being shared today, I think that what we have here today, like he said, is enough. If someone said 1 million transactions per second, come on, Visa, MasterCard, how much are you using? 20, 30,000 at most. We don't need 1 million. We don't need 10 trillion transactions per second. We don't, right? But what we need is people who actually understand this technology, understand the space really well, and able to identify business opportunity. So in terms of business opportunity, this is going back to the question about the VCs, where they're looking.
Yeah.
Where are the VCs looking? Guys, they're not looking at MEV, account abstraction. Yeah, there are some really, really good incubator, accelerator, highly technical, highly competent people. They're probably linked to some university. Now, these guys are looking at this space because they understand it. Okay, but the rest of us, we don't. So what do we look at? Oh, easy. If it's a license exchange, yeah, if you're one of the 5 licenses of a big country, of a big potential, like UAE, yeah, it's worth something. Investors will invest. Are you crazy not to invest? You're not. Custodial service. Why is custodial service important? Well, custodial service from day one, it has to be third party. No exchange will be self-custodying for sure, 100%. Lending, borrowing, the same thing. No one is going to self-custody. So it's an important service. And this service has the interest of who? The major banks. All the banks that you see. Why? This is the bread and butter. And not only that, they have the brand name. Over decades, they have the brand name, and all of us are, no matter what we say about blockchain and DeFi, all of us are customers of some banks, right? So if a license is available, who would you trust? You would trust the bank, you see. So the future is not so complex, and it's actually quite easy to understand. Yeah, in 5 years, most of the countries will have some form of regulation, right? In 5 years, all this will be regular businesses. In 5 years, some business will be able to understand and utilize this fantastic decentralization technology, and they create businesses that will rival the giants of today, right? The Google, Amazon, whoever, Facebook, right? So how do we take advantage in the meantime, right? So I think that's the big question, and you will see the VC money, and this is probably not public, but the VC's money are going exactly to those places. Yeah, that's all I have to say.
Thank you for such a beautiful closing word. So I think it's timing already, and we need to wrap up. Aniket, do you have anything to add, like in terms of trends, your own forecast, prediction in blockchain ecosystem? Yeah.
Please.
It's time to say like the closing word. So could you wrap up like your ideas, your like predictions and forecasts of the future trends of blockchain, and what do you see as the future of blockchain?
So I would answer this one with what we are trying to build right now. It's identifying the issues with one particular industry and helping them to bring up a blockchain, like giving them a blockchain solution directly in their hands so that they can run their own. Let them test for some another coming years or months, whatever it is, and getting the test results and then identifying the real use case of one particular thing is what we are trying to build. Similarly, like even what Aaron said was right. Everybody will come and try to test, and we don't know what the roads are ahead. We are trying to bring up something, we might end up building something else, and that is how things are going to come up in blockchain industry too. First of all, we need to trust the guys who are trying to build, and they are obviously trying to build it for something. They have a purpose, and they are trying to build for the sake of the technology itself. And that's where I find myself bringing up such talents in the market, helping them grow. Let them fail. It's not that big deal. 1,000 projects worth bring out one beautiful project. That's how the whole market is with the crypto too. One crypto is all enough for than the rest of 9,000 tokens. So this is how I feel. There's a big scope for another decade in the terms of technology, what we are trying to see forward, and looking at what a better future for everyone.
Thank you. So any questions from the audience? No questions for today.
Did we bore you guys?
Huh?
You can ask. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you, everyone. And thank you, dear guests, for sharing your expertise. I hope this was really helpful.